Dr. Kim Suji stared at her computer screen, heart racing as the pattern scrolled across the display. For months she had been analyzing strange radio signals from the asteroid belt, and now she was certain these weren't random cosmic noise. Do-hyun, look at this, she called to her colleague across the lab. Park Do-hyun hurried over, his coffee forgotten on his desk. These patterns repeat exactly every 127.3 seconds, Suji explained, pointing to the waveform. Natural phenomena don't behave with this precision. Do-hyun leaned closer. And you've ruled out human satellites? Completely. Besides, these signals are coming from multiple points throughout the asteroid belt. Our equipment isn't advanced enough to maintain that kind of network out there. The year was 2087, and humanity had established research stations on the Moon and Mars, but the asteroid belt remained largely unexplored territory. Suji had been tasked with scanning deep space for potential signals from other civilizations, but she never expected to find evidence so close to home. We need to bring this to Director Yoon, Do-hyun said quietly. Director Yoon Hai-wan listened carefully as Suji presented her findings in the conference room of the International Space Research Institute. Representatives from major space agencies around the world joined virtually, their faces serious on the large screen. The mathematical sequences embedded in these signals follow prime number patterns that couldn't occur naturally, Suji explained. And there's more. When we began focused observation 3 weeks ago, the signal patterns changed. Changed how? Director Yoon asked. They became more complex, as if... Suji hesitated before continuing. As if they knew we were listening. The room fell silent. The implications were enormous. If what Dr. Kim is suggesting is true, said the NASA representative, then we've discovered an alien surveillance network that's been hiding in our solar system, possibly for centuries. 3 days later, Suji's team detected a new signal, stronger than the others, directed specifically at Earth. The message was simple, a series of mathematical equations that, when solved, revealed a communication protocol. They want to talk, Suji told the hastily assembled world leaders. They know we've found them. The governments of Earth formed an international response team. Suji and Do-hyun worked around the clock with linguists, mathematicians, and physicists to establish two-way communication. Their first breakthrough came when they successfully transmitted a prime number sequence back to the asteroid belt. The response was immediate. A complex data packet that, when decoded, contained images of Earth from different historical periods: ancient Egypt, medieval Europe, the Industrial Revolution, and finally, modern cities. They've been watching us evolve, Do-hyun whispered in awe. 2 months after the initial discovery, Suji's team received the most significant transmission yet, a message in simplified mathematical language that they gradually translated. We are the observers. Your detection of our network was unexpected. No species at your development stage has achieved this before. We will initiate formal contact. The world held its breath as a small spacecraft detached from the asteroid belt and began its journey toward Earth. It would arrive in 3 days. Preparations for first contact were frantic. A meeting site was prepared in a remote area of New Zealand. Security forces from multiple nations established a perimeter, while scientists readied communication equipment and biological containment protocols. Suji stood beside Director Yoon as the alien craft descended silently from the night sky. It was surprisingly small, no larger than a passenger bus, with a smooth metallic surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. All those years of wondering if we were alone, Director Yoon murmured. And they were right here, all along, watching us. The craft landed softly on the prepared platform. For several long minutes nothing happened. Then, a section of the hull simply disappeared, revealing an opening. A figure emerged. Not organic as many had expected, but clearly artificial. It appeared humanoid, but with proportions slightly too perfect to be natural. Its surface shimmered with a subtle iridescence. The being raised a hand in what seemed like a universal gesture of peace and spoke in a voice that sounded almost human. I am emissary. We have watched humanity since your earliest civilizations. Your discovery of our observation network was unprecedented. Now we must talk about your future among the stars. Suji stepped forward as Earth's chosen representative, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We have many questions. As do we, replied Emissary. You were not supposed to find us for another 50 years. The emissary led Suji and a small team of Earth representatives into the spacecraft. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. There were no visible controls, screens, or equipment, just a circular space with a shimmering table at its center. Our true form would be difficult for your sensory systems, explained the emissary as it gestured for them to sit on seats that rose smoothly from the floor. This interface was created based on our studies of your species. Li Jae-woo, Earth's appointed diplomat, placed a tablet on the table. We've prepared questions that represent the concerns of our world governments. The emissary tilted its head in what seemed like curiosity. Before your questions, I must explain who we are. We call ourselves the Vril. We are observers and collectors of knowledge. A three-dimensional image appeared above the table, a map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights scattered throughout. Each light represents a world with developing intelligent life, said the emissary. We monitor over 12,000 species across this galaxy alone. Do-hyun leaned forward. And what do you do with this information? We learn. We preserve. Knowledge is the only true constant in the universe. The emissary touched the map, and it zoomed in on Earth. Your planet has been particularly fascinating. Most species develop at predictable rates. Humans do not. Suji watched as the map showed a timeline of human development, from simple tools to digital technology, in what the emissary explained was an unusually short span. Why hide yourselves? Suji asked. Why not make contact sooner? Our primary directive is non-interference. Species must develop naturally until they achieve independent spacefaring status. Official contact is only permitted after a civilization discovers faster than light travel. Jae-woo frowned. Then why are you speaking with us now? We haven't achieved FTL travel. Because you found us, the emissary stated simply. This has never happened before. No species at your developmental stage has ever detected our observation network. This unexpected variable requires direct communication. The revelation hung in the air. Humanity had done the impossible without realizing it. How long have you been watching Earth? Director Yoon asked. The image above the table changed to show ancient human civilizations. Our first observation post was established during what you call the Bronze Age. We have comprehensive records of your entire history. Suji felt a chill run down her spine. Everything? Our wars? Our private moments? We observe patterns, not individuals, the emissary clarified. Though in recent centuries we have monitored your communications networks more closely. Are there others like you? Jae-woo asked. Other advanced species? Many. The galaxy is more populated than you imagine. The map expanded again, showing different colored regions. Most advanced civilizations join the Galactic Council once they reach certain developmental milestones. Professor Han Ji-ho, the team's xenobiologist, spoke for the first time. And what happens now? What changes because we found you? The emissary was silent for a moment. That is being debated among our leadership. Your discovery has created disagreement. Disagreement about what? Suji pressed. About humanity's readiness for broader contact. Some believe your technological progression is too rapid compared to your ethical development. Others are impressed by your insight in discovering us. The meeting continued for hours as the emissary answered carefully selected questions about Vril technology, society, and their observations of Earth. They learned the Vril were an ancient species that had evolved beyond biological forms thousands of years ago. When the Earth team finally emerged from the spacecraft, the sun was rising. News cameras captured their tired but amazed expressions as they prepared to brief world leaders. They've been here all along, Suji told reporters, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Watching us grow as a species, and now everything changes. What Suji didn't share was the emissary's final private message to her. Prepare your people, Dr. Kim. Not all Vril share my fascination with human potential. Some see only danger in a species that develops so quickly, so unpredictably. They will want limitations placed on your future development. That night, as governments worldwide processed the implications of first contact, strange signals began flooding Earth's communication networks. The Vril debate about humanity's future had begun, and Earth was now listening. 3 days after first contact, the mood at the International Space Research Institute had shifted from wonder to worry. Suji noticed the emissary's visits becoming shorter, its answers more guarded. Something had changed. They're arguing about us, Do-hyun said, analyzing the intercepted Vril communications. Though they couldn't translate most of it, the tone was clear from the transmission patterns. And I don't think we're winning the debate. Suji nodded grimly. The emissary had been more forthcoming with her than with others. It had explained that the Vril were divided into factions, each with different views on how to handle unexpected situations like humanity's discovery of their network. Choi Tae-min, recently appointed as Earth's defense coordinator, entered the lab with a serious expression. We need to talk. The military satellites have detected movement in the asteroid belt. Satellite imagery showed dozens of previously hidden Vril observation posts activating throughout the solar system. Some were repositioning, moving closer to Earth orbit. Are they preparing to attack? Asked Director Yoon. I don't think so, Suji replied. The emissary said violence is considered primitive in their culture, but they might be preparing for something else. That evening, all communication with the emissary suddenly ceased. For 24 hours, Earth waited in tense silence. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Religious leaders called for calm. Ordinary people looked to the sky with new fear and uncertainty. When the Vril finally made contact again, it wasn't the familiar emissary, but a different entity that identified itself as the Overseer. Its form was similar but larger, its voice deeper and less human-like. The observation protocol has been compromised, the Overseer announced to the hastily assembled world leaders. After careful analysis, the High Council has determined that humanity represents a potential destabilizing factor in this sector. Tae-min leaned forward. What exactly does that mean? Your species develops technology at an abnormal rate. Your social structures evolve too slowly to properly manage these advancements. This combination has been designated as high risk. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. You're afraid of us, Jae-woo said finally. The Overseer's expression didn't change. Fear is irrelevant. Risk assessment is factual. The High Council has reached a decision. A holographic document appeared before each person in the room. It outlined a series of restrictions on human technological development, particularly in areas of space exploration, artificial intelligence, and energy production. These limitations will ensure human development proceeds at an acceptable pace. You will be permitted to join the galactic community in approximately 300 years, once your social evolution matches your technological capability. President Garcia of the United Americas stood up. And if we refuse these terms, then Earth will be quarantined. No communication with or travel to any world beyond your solar system will be permitted. Any attempt to breach this quarantine will trigger defensive measures. This is not a negotiation, the Overseer continued. This is notification of the Council's decision. You have 30 Earth days to formally accept these terms. After the Overseer departed, the world leaders remained in stunned silence. Humanity had dreamed of finding intelligent life beyond Earth for centuries. Now that dream had turned into a nightmare of restrictions and threats. Later that night, Suji received an encrypted message on her personal device. It contained only a few words. Not all agree. Seek the patterns. E. The emissary was reaching out, going against its own leadership to help humanity. But what patterns was it referring to? Suji called Do-hyun immediately. We need to look at all the Vril communications again. Their network, their signals, everything. There's something there the emissary wants us to find. As Taemin began coordinating Earth's military response and politicians debated whether to accept the Vril's terms, Suji assembled a secret team. If humanity was going to face this ultimatum, they needed every advantage they could get, including whatever hidden help the emissary was offering. The 30-day countdown had begun. Suji stared at the patterns scrolling across her screen. For 14 days straight, her team had analyzed every aspect of Vril communications. The deadline was approaching fast, and world governments were deeply divided about how to respond to the ultimatum. "I found something," Do-hyun said suddenly, his voice cutting through the quiet tension of the lab. He pointed to his monitor where a complex waveform pulsed. "These signals from the asteroid belt aren't just communications, they're a network infrastructure." Suji moved to his side. "What do you mean?" "The Vril don't just talk through these signals, they exist in them. Their consciousness, their entire civilization flows through this network." Do-hyun's eyes were wide with realization. "And every network has vulnerabilities." Kang Mi-rae, the brilliant physicist who had been recruited to Suji's team, looked up from her calculations. "If we could find a way to access their network, we might be able to communicate directly with other factions. Maybe even the broader galactic community the emissary mentioned." The team worked day and night, piecing together what they knew about Vril technology. Earth's governments provided whatever resources they needed while maintaining public calm. Officially, diplomatic channels remained open with the overseer, buying precious time. On day 23 of the 30-day deadline, Mi-rae made the breakthrough they needed. "The Vril network operates on quantum principles we've only theorized about," she explained to Suji and the others. "But they never expected us to understand these principles, so their security is focused on threats from more advanced civilizations. They have no defenses against our primitive methods." Mi-rae proposed a bold plan: repurpose Earth's largest radio telescopes into a synchronized transmission array that could pierce the Vril network's defenses through sheer power rather than sophistication. "It won't be elegant," she admitted, "but it's like breaking down a door instead of picking the lock. Sometimes the direct approach works when they're not expecting it." With just 1 week remaining before the deadline, teams around the world began modifying radio telescopes according to Mi-rae's specifications. The plan was risky. If it failed, the Vril might see it as aggression. If it succeeded, humanity would have a voice beyond what the overseer wanted to allow. The night before the transmission, Suji found Do-hyun on the roof of the research facility, looking at the stars. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" he asked quietly. "Maybe they're right about us. Maybe we are developing too fast for our own good." Suji considered this. That should be our choice to make, not theirs. The emissary believed in us, enough to help. That has to count for something. The next morning, Earth's modified transmission array activated simultaneously. The power draw was so massive that temporary blackouts rolled across continents. The message they sent was simple but powerful: evidence of the Vril overseer's ultimatum to Earth, along with historical records showing humanity's capacity for cooperation and peaceful resolution of differences. For 3 days there was no response. Many feared the worst, that they had failed or worse, provoked the Vril into immediate action. Then, on the 4th day, new signals appeared in Earth's skies. Not from the asteroid belt, but from much farther away. The patterns were similar to Vril communications but distinctly different. "We've been heard," Mi-rae whispered as the data poured in. "Someone out there is responding." The message, when decoded, was brief. "Intervention incoming. Overseer authority suspended. Prepare for council representatives." Suji looked at her team, their faces showing equal parts relief and apprehension. "They're coming," she said simply. And not just the Vril this time. Humanity had done what the overseer thought impossible. They had reached beyond their solar system, beyond their expected capabilities, and called out to the stars, and the stars had answered. The arrival of the Galactic Council ships transformed Earth's night sky. Unlike the small, subtle craft of the Vril, These vessels made no attempt to hide. 7 massive ships, each shaped differently from the others, positioned themselves around Earth's orbit like a protective ring. Global communications networks buzzed with images and videos of the ships. Governments called for calm while privately, preparing for any outcome. Suji and her team were summoned to the same New Zealand location where they had first met the emissary. "They're not just Vril," Suji told the assembled world leaders as they waited. The message mentioned council representatives. "I think we're about to meet more than one alien species." She was right. When the transport vessel landed, 5 different beings emerged. Only one resembled the Vril emissary. The others were strikingly different. One appeared almost plant-like with flowing tendrils. Another moved with liquid grace. The third looked like a collection of crystalline structures, and the fourth was a small hovering orb that pulsed with changing colors. "We are the Galactic Council Intervention Team," announced the Vril-like being. "I am mediator appointed to facilitate this unprecedented situation." The crystal being stepped forward. "Your transmission reached 27 council worlds. The evidence you provided was disturbing." The Vril were never authorized to issue ultimatums or threaten isolation, the plant-like entity added, its voice surprisingly melodic. Their mandate was observation only. Director Yoon stepped forward, cautiously. "What happens now?" The hovering orb pulsed blue and spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The Overseer faction has been removed from Earth's sector. Their judgment was compromised by fear, a failing they claimed to have evolved beyond." Sci-Fi Council representatives explained that they had reviewed humanity's transmission and the evidence provided. They were impressed not just by Earth's ability to breach the Vril network, but by how the message had been constructed, focusing on cooperation rather than threats. "Your species shows remarkable adaptability," said the liquid form being. "Most developing civilizations follow predictable paths. You do not." "Is that good or bad?" Suji asked directly. "It is." "Interesting," the mediator replied. "The Council values diversity of thought and approach. Your unpredictability may prove valuable." The Council offered humanity a choice that no species at Earth's development stage had ever received before. Provisional membership in the Galactic Council, with access to cultural and scientific exchange programs, while maintaining Earth's autonomy. "We will not interfere with your natural development," the crystal being explained. "But we will no longer hide from you either. Your world will continue its own path with the knowledge that you are not alone." 1 month later, Suji stood at the boarding ramp of a council vessel. She had been selected as Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community. Do-hyun and Mireille would join other research teams across the council worlds, learning and sharing in equal measure. "Are you nervous?" asked Director Yoon, who had come to see them off. Suji smiled. "Terrified and excited, but mostly I'm proud. We could have responded to the Vril ultimatum with fear or aggression. Instead, we chose to reach out to communicate." The council representatives said that's what impressed them most. Yoon nodded. "Not that we had the technology to breach their network, but that we used it to share information rather than attack." As Suji prepared to board, she caught sight of a familiar figure waiting inside the ship, the original emissary who had helped them. "I knew humans would respond with ingenuity," it said as Suji approached. "But I did not expect courage and wisdom as well. Perhaps your species is developing at exactly the right pace after all." The ship's doors closed, and Suji felt the gentle pull as they lifted away from Earth. Through the viewing port, she watched her home planet grow smaller, a beautiful blue marble where humanity was just beginning to understand its place in a vast, complex universe. In uncovering those who watched us, we had found something even more valuable: ourselves.